Hey, it's Botch here, and today we're going to service the 4-speed automatic in this Ford Territory. It's the same automatic in a lot of Falcons up to about 2005, 2006, then they went to the 6-speed autos. So we're going to put the car up, drop the pan, change the filter and top up the fluid. Let's do it. Okay, for this job we need a 10mm socket, rattle gun, not essential, transmission fluid. In this case it's a 4-speed auto, so we've got transmission fluid which is 95 LE compatible, I think it is, 95 LE, which it is. And I've tipped that into a little drum pump to make it easier to get the fluid in, because there's no dipstick on these cars, the oil. Transmission fluid, sorry. Also a drip tray. Also got the filter kit, which should have inside it pan gasket seal, which goes in the bottom of the pan, and a new filter. And check to see that the filter has the O-ring up the top there, which is very important. If it hasn't got that, you're in trouble. They're just a paper filter. Now we're not going to change the whole fluid today unless it's really dirty, so we'll just check the colour. If it's nice and red, we'll just drop the pan down, take the pan off, change the filter, new gasket on there, put it back in, put the fluid in, job's right. We take out a couple of bolts from the front, then we drop it down from the bottom. That'll let us drain the fluid, because there's no drain plug in the sump. Alright, now I've loosened off the front bolts, removed the centre bolts, the 3 centre bolts from the pan completely. We're ready to take these bottom bolts, the back bolts completely out, and that should drop the sump down. Here it comes. It's nice and red, so that's a good sign. Once the flow slows down, we can continue loosening it off, because that'll let a bit more out of the bottom inch or so of fluid that's in the sump. There we go, give it a bit of a help. Bit of a messy job anyway. Then we can remove the front bolts completely, take the pan off. Okay, got all the bolts out, so I'll just carefully lower the pan down. Get the rest of the oil out. Now the other thing to check is the magnet, which is just here. Now that's just a magnet that's sitting on the pan. If there's any metal filings or anything like that, that's the first place they'll go, is on that magnet. So my magnet's nice and clean, which tells me there's no metal in the transmission, which is definitely a good thing. So the fluid's nice and red. We're right just to change the filter over and new gasket, and then put some fluid in it. Now, while the transmission was fairly complicated with all the wires and solenoids and bits and pieces in there, it's not that hard to change the filter. This is the filter here. It's got a paper filter which is inside the metal housing, so we just need to drop that down. Now all that holds the filter into the transmission is this metal clip along here. Got a screwdriver, lever the piece of wire off, can let it sit in there, take it out, make sure you know which way it goes around, so you put it back on the same way. Get the filter, give it a wiggle, a bit more fluid comes out. Make sure it's got the seal on there. In this case the seal has stayed in the gearbox, so we just need to pop that out, otherwise if you try to put 2 seals in there, she won't seal at all. There's the other seal there. All we do now is grab the new filter. I like to smear a bit of transmission fluid around this new seal, and that just pushes in where the old seal was till it's flat. Put the wire back in the same position. Clips in. Now just give it a quick wipe around where the gasket sits, just so there's no dirt. Put the new gasket on the pan here, so we take the old one off. Now just take note, there's one hole on one side of the pan and then two holes on the other. So the gasket will only go one way, you can't really get it back to front. So just take that off and sit the new one on there. Okay, put the new gasket on the pan. Just put the pan back in place. And it's always best to get the bolts in finger tight before you go putting the rattle gun on them, or trying to tighten them with the ratchet. You'll end up cross-threading it or stripping the thread, and you're in all sorts of problems, especially on a thing like a gearbox. Alright, once you've got all the nuts finger tight, just grab your ratchet and go over them by hand. Don't use the rattle gun for this thing. And they need to be just nipped up, not overly tight. Don't go swinging off the ratchet or you'll break them, because they're only 10mm bolts. Now, just got to find a hole to put some fluid in. Now the fill plug is up here, which is a 16mm nut, so you now undo that nut and pump the fluid in there. Cars up to about 2002 had a dipstick. You could fill the transmission fluid through the dipstick under the bonnet. In the later model cars, they're all a sealed unit, so no dipstick, so you have to undo the plug there and fill it up with fluid. Now it's pretty tight. If it's tight, put two spanners on the one spanner. That'll give it extra leverage. There it goes. We've cracked it. So pull that plug right out. If we have a look how much fluid came out of the transmission, that gives us an idea about how much we have to put in. So I've got to put about 2 litres back in. So I've got 1 litre bottle here with the fluid ready to go. So I'll just pop that in and start pumping. Alright, how do we know when we've got enough fluid in it? It'll start to dribble out the fill hole as you put it in. Now, because I've got the car on a bit of an angle, it's not going to be 100% accurate. But that'll give us an indication. Then we'll take the car for a drive and run it through the gears, get it on a level surface, undo the plug. When you take the plug out, it should just have a small dribble. That means you've got the right amount of fluid in it. So put the plug back in, take it for a drive, recheck it, and we're all done. Don't forget to check out my other how-to videos on car repairs and Botch's Backyard.